Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of F122, my team career mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we are at Belgium here in Spa, back from the summer break, ready to kick things off for this final stretch of the season. The final stretch for a lot of teams before their driver lineups might be switched around, potentially here with Porsche Trackhouse. And we as well are going to hopefully soon find out if there's any regulation changes on the way for this third season on the way. I'm hoping for some engine regulation changes here, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. It's also the final stretch for Alfa Romeo's, Formula One tenure, because we all know now, based off of the announcement recently, that Audi is going to be replacing that Alfa Romeo team right there, yet to be decided on the driver lineup, which is currently Zhou Guan Yu as well as Daniel Ricciardo. But we come through into this Spa weekend, and a track that I feel like could be a very hit or miss for this Trackhouse racing car, and myself and Tailport Chair, we've been putting up some solid results lately for the Trackhouse car, because this car has been getting better and better. Justin Marks, the team, has been doing a fantastic job leading this team lately here, and it has certainly been showing, in my opinion, here now as we continue to make upgrades and back off this summer break. We're hoping to make a big final push in towards the end of Season 2 to set ourselves up properly for Season 3 to be a consistent points contender. The goal by the end of Season 3 is to be a consistent, podium contender, I would say, and then hopefully a race-winning contender in Season 4 and championship contender as well. This is not an easy project, Trackhouse Racing, and we have committed as a young driver here long-term to this team, and I can tell you right now, we have signed. We're going to return to Trackhouse Racing next season as well for Season 3, as we continue here in practice and free practice 1, making some laps, and actually pretty confident and happy with the pace in this car. So that was a good sign. The race strategy program was going fantastic here, nothing but green on the Delta there, so straight line speed was actually looking pretty solid, and we know the engine has been a weak spot this season in this car, but we have definitely done a solid job lately upgrading it better than a lot of teams, and for some reason this season this Trackhouse car has been able to be upgraded so much better than other teams have been able to upgrade their cars, which has been awesome here. As you can see myself now doing the qualifying program, and unfortunately the qualifying program didn't quite go as good for myself here. I actually ended up in the red, so we would not beat the Delta time. However, I didn't hit the panic button. I really wasn't concerned, because I felt like on that race strategy there was some legitimate pace in the car, but when I saw that the result was P15 after going red in the Delta for the qualifying pace, that's the best I've ever seen, so I was very happy with that as well. It looks like that coming off of the summer break into Spa, we might have a pretty competitive car here for the original Trackhouse standards all the way back in, Season 1 when we were the slowest thing on the circuit, and even earlier this season. Think back to Baku, Azerbaijan, and how off the pace both myself and Tailport Chair was. It was embarrassing, and that was obviously the low point of our, in my opinion, career mode so far. And last episode in Hungary we really struggled for pace as well, but obviously we were able to turn things around with one heck of a comeback drive. Now, however, we focus on the first qualifying session here down into turn 1 pretty well, but I was really just focused on making it to Q2. Get to Q2, maybe both myself and Port Chair get to Q2, and then Q3 is a bit of a stretch, so I really wasn't expecting that. But this is the end of my first lap, and it was okay. It was not the greatest, so I would end up setting a second lap. I did beat Kevin Magnussen, but still some work to do. As you can see, my second lap, final lap in Q1, and we were all the way down in P19, while my teammate at Tailport Chair, he was actually up towards the top 15, advancing into Q2. So I was, of course, having to try and do that myself here now, as we were running about 4.5 to 5 tenths of a second quicker, and then as we came down into the final chicane, I braked a little bit earlier, but was able to kind of get a little bit more aggressive and deep into the corners, so it ended up kind of giving us the same result, about half a second. But that would put us in the top 10, P6, P7 for Port Chair and myself. However, we would drop to P14, P15, but that advances us both into Q2. I believe the first time that two Trackhouse cars have made it into Q2 since the team started back there in Season 1 when we had our teammate of Oscar Piastri. I don't think he was ever able to advance along with myself into Q2, so I think it's the first time that has officially happened. In Port Chair, I will say, a rocky start to the season for our French teammate. However, he has certainly stepped things up lately and has actually become a bit of a threat to myself in terms of performance here. Q2, we were down in P15. Again, Port Chair was running again better than me in terms of lap times here on my second and final lap. We found about 3 to 4 tenths of a second in it again, kind of like we did in Q1, but about 3.5 tenths is where it would stabilize briefly here as we went down into the final chicane, into the corner pretty hard. Now we find 5, nearly 6/10 of a second. We give a little bit of it up, but it's going to be about 5/10 again. Better though as we cross the line. It's P11, not going to be enough. Pourchaire was currently P13. Where would we end up officially though? Pourchaire actually is going to be very, very similar to me. Look at this. We are P15, P16, the first two cars out, unfortunately. But overall, still happy that we both made it into Q2. Let's head to the grid.
We're in Belgium once again for today's round of the Formula One World Championship. It's a race that the great Ayrton Senna won 6 times, and in 2019, Charles Leclerc became the first driver to take their maiden win here since Michael Schumacher back in 1992. So here we are once again, ready to go racing through the Ardennes forest. 4.35 miles of long straights, fast corners and massive elevation changes. It makes this not only one of the most exciting circuits on the calendar, but one that makes for some consistently high quality racing as well. Simply put it, there's no place quite like it. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today as he starts in pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Russell, Hamilton, Esteban Ocon and Bottas, Norris, Mick Schumacher, Verstappen, they've taken a grid penalty, and Daniel Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Perez, Théo Pourchaire, Golden Boy, Joe, Oscar Piastri, Carlos Sainz. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Kevin Magnussen, Gasly, Stroll, Albon and Nicholas Latifi. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And alongside me once again for coverage of today's race is none other than the great Anthony Davidson. Why don't we discuss Red Bull? What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
We are ready to go. Lights out racing here in Spa for the Belgian Grand Prix. And once again, you see Mercedes showcasing some speed. However, not quite the speed they had leading into the summer break now, as they've been outqualified by both a Red Bull and a Ferrari. Sebastian Vettel has been very quick all weekend long. He has not won a race yet since he's come back to the Red Bull Porsche team this season. However, obviously, starting pole, things are looking pretty good for him and his chances to do that now. Last time won the Belgian Grand Prix back in 2018. Well, we get some more. Here comes Sebastian Vettel. I would not mind, as I remember that win very well, fresh off of the German Grand Prix, where he unfortunately wrecked himself out. Now, as we are ready to go racing here, it's going to be 5 legs out, and we are underway from the Belgian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel covers off the Ferrari well as they head down into turn 1, and you can see Ferrari, Leclerc, his teammate Bottas, last episode had actually a mechanical failure very close to the end, with I think 2 laps to go in the Hungarian GP before the summer break, so he's a little bit further down the order. Bottas hoping that they can just get through this Grand Prix, but a very clean start actually. Sebastian Vettel already out to a 7-8, just about car length the lead. Now he does of course give Leclerc the slipstream there, as you see Russell and Hamilton in 3rd and 4th, and there's Lando Norris actually in the McLaren trying to go around the outside of Hamilton here. Hamilton had a bit of a rough apex now, and they continue wheel to wheel. Who's going to come out on top of this battle now? It could go either way, but it's going to go looking like in the favor of Hamilton there, as you can see as well. Checo Perez just behind Lando Norris here in that Alpine. Perez has done such an unbelievably good job. I've talked about it. His AI has been fantastic for this Alpine team, and if I'm Alpine, I'm doing everything I can to lock down Perez here going into Season 3, Season 4, etc., because he has really brought that team to the next step. His last while hasn't been as impressive as the first part of the season, but still, he has been consistently better than his teammate of Esteban Ocon. So you can see continuous progress there coming out of this Alpine team, and they could really be a contender if they get the right regulation changes, I think, going into that 3rd season of this F1 22 My Team career mode. And if we get regulation changes, that is, because we don't know if we're going to get regulation changes. There's been proposed engine changes actually that could completely change the overall sound of the engines here in this F1 22 My Team career mode, so stay tuned on that, but we don't know officially yet if that is going to happen. Verstappen here. Focusing in briefly on myself, it was a decent start as usual. It wasn't great. We didn't really gain anything, unfortunately. Vettel though leads at the end of this first and opening lap, but you can see there we did lose one position down to P17, and my teammate actually of Tail Porcher, he got the elbows out and was actually nearly inside of the top 10 after his start. So I went from P16 to P17 Porcher, went from like 15th to 12th or 11th, so it was a completely opposite start for both of us here. As you can see though, lap 3 with the DRS open all over the rear diffuser of Pierre Gasly there in that AlphaTauri Porsche, battling what you could call as an alliance teammate. They would call it a NASCAR, as we are now going to actually send one up the inside. Actually, I missed my apex a little bit there, but we do get past Gasly there relatively clean, and now we're going to try and run down the Alfa Romeo of Zhou Guanyu here in these next few laps. There is good pace in this car. I can feel the pace in this car. P16, not a representation that is accurate at all of what kind of pace, in my opinion, this car has. I think we have a car good enough to fight for points here today. A bit of a late move there on Zhou Guanyu into turn 1, and not only do I surprise Zhou, but I surprise myself. I wasn't anticipating to have such a run on him there into the corner. We're going to be wheel to wheel here as we go through Eau Rouge and Radeon, and who's going to get out of this battle there? We keep it side by side. We keep it clean, most importantly, and now here comes Pierre Gasly with the momentum on both of us here with the rear wing open. DRS actually threw a block on him. I shouldn't have done that. That was just out of force of habit right there. But he's going to send one up my inside. He hits me in the rear tire, and he's actually going to lose a winglet there, and he actually locked up. What happened was he locked up right here, and you're going to see the replay right there. There goes the left front locking up. He runs into the back of me. I get a warning for, of course, track limits because I went wide, but that was because of the contact. So Max Verstappen at the conclusion of lap 5, he's actually coming into the pit lane already. I'm not sure if he had gotten wing damage or if he for some reason was just deciding to do a different strategy. However, I believe he might have gotten wing damage somewhere. So more issues for the championship leader of Max Verstappen, and that is not going to help his case, and hopefully for Lewis Hamilton will be exactly what he needs now. As you can see, us now trying to pass Carlos Sainz into the braking zone here at the end of the DRS straight, the long DRS straight, and here we are going around the outside. He actually ran a little bit wide and had to back out of it there, so we are able to take the position now as we are clearly proving we can even pass the McLarens here on track. We are continuing to make progress with this team here with Trackhouse Racing. Now Yuki Tsunoda being next in line as we try to close in on him on this 9th lap of the Grand Prix, and this section right here was my best section of anywhere on the track. I was really able to close in on the other drivers here. Yellow flags on lap 9. It's Valtteri Bottas who's had a mechanical failure, and he's going to be out for the 2nd Grand Prix in a row. He goes into the summer break on a bit of a low point. He comes back from the summer break on a bit of a low point. The Monaco Grand Prix winner not having the season that I think he had dreamt of having here with Ferrari. However, it's not been the worst season for Valtteri Bottas by any means. As you can see, Sebastian Vettel out to a 3-second lead currently. I don't know what is going on with Sebastian Vettel, but he has turned it up here today in the Belgian Grand Prix. You see Russell Hamilton. Ocon's actually in 5th. I thought it was Perez earlier. It's Ocon who was running up there in 5th, actually having a great result here currently in Belgium. Now as we come through to start our pit cycle at the conclusion of this 10th lap following the Alfa Romeo, soon to be Audi of Daniel Ricciardo here, and we're going to come in to put that hard compound tire on, and simple strategy there. No weather that is looking like going to be popping up anywhere, no showers of concern to watch. So we're going to come in there and put on that hard compound tire, as we're going to see who's going to get out between myself and Ricciardo, and actually we're going to get in what real life would have been an unsafe pit release. However, we just got a ghost car here in the game, and we exit right behind the Alfa Romeo there, currently in P17. But once things cycle out here, you can see Sebastian Vettel now coming into the pits, and like I said, he's putting on a heck of a drive right now in that white, black, and red Red Bull Porsche now, and there's rumors that Red Bull might be returning to their normal kind of iconic blue livery starting in Season 3. We'll have to wait and see what happens there, and I mean, do they even stick with the Porsche? It's a long-term partnership, but we could replicate what we see in real life, and then it just things don't work out, and they don't even end up together at all here. Now, as you can see, myself passing Yuki Tsunoda, a bit of a unique place to pass right there, but he was on those cold, hard tires, so I was able to take advantage there as we go for a bit of a less than 10 lap to go. Late race update, Sebastian Vettel now was about 6 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc. George Russell up there in 3rd. Esteban Ocon currently has actually been able to get past the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton for 4th, so a great run for Ocon now, as Hamilton. Verstappen trying to rebound currently in the 6th position there after that unscheduled pit stop, but I think Verstappen is going to be able to take those hard compound tires all the way to the end of this Grand Prix, so things might just work out for Verstappen in the end of this year now with less than 10 laps to go. Perez currently running in 7th place over Lando Lando Norris there in 8th, and the McLaren Schumacher actually currently in the points, as well as our teammate at Tail Portier, after everything's cycled out, is holding on to currently his first point in Formula 1, and what would be the first point that a teammate of ours has ever scored at Trackhouse Racing. We have yet to see our teammate score a single point. Could we see it today? I'm still down at P12, but it's still, a great run for Trackhouse Racing. P10, P12, clearly the best pace we've had as a whole team ever in this My Team career mode, so we're really happy with how things are going so far. There's the Aston Martin continuing their struggles currently. The last two cars running, Magnussen as well as Lance Stroll down there in P20, as well as a P21 here now as we continue to lap 16. We're closing in on Daniel Ricciardo as well as we are in the DRS range, so we are going to be a legitimate threat here for P11, and it wouldn't take that long here now. As you can see, lap 17, closer and closer, about half a second between myself and Ricciardo. Looks like he's struggling a little bit there for a grip as well here as we continue to close in and get after that 11th position. Here we are now within a couple car lengths here. Lap 18, a potential lunge up the inside, Ricciardo style. We're going to lunge one up the inside of Daniel Ricciardo, and we're going to make the pass happen there. He runs out of room, and we move up into P11 here in the Belgian Grand Prix. Next up, our teammate of Tail Portier, who's 1.9 seconds up the road, and unfortunately that for me is just too much to make up here in about 4 laps time compared to the pace we've had. We've had a little bit of pace here to reel in by about 2 to 3 tenths of a second, but that was it. Yellow flags actually up and around our area somewhere. It is, I think, behind us potentially here, and I believe, yes, it is. By looking at the track map, it looks like Pierre Gasly is going to be out of this Grand Prix. Actually, he's had a mechanical failure, so the AlphaTauri Porsche is going to be out here, and there you see it. Gasly is sure enough out of the session due to that mechanical failure. Now as we continue, 2 laps to go, more yellow flags actually up there in front of us. Portier now 2.4 seconds ahead. He extended the gap between himself and I, and we're coming up on whatever's going on up here. It looks like this car is slow. Portier slow behind Russell. I think Russell's got a tire puncture. We just got a 2-for-1 special. I never even lifted, and there you see Russell had a left rear tire puncture from 3rd place, and unfortunately Portier ran him down. He's still in the points, Portier is, and all of a sudden the final lap was kicking off, and there was chaos everywhere. There was battles happening. Hamilton now fighting with Ocon as well as Verstappen and Perez for the final spot on the podium. It's decided up front. It's Vettel and Leclerc, but look at these two continuing side by side. Verstappen is back up into 3rd place, and Hamilton is side by side with Perez, who goes now wide. Hamilton's wide into the gravel. It's been a downfall suddenly for the Mercedes team. It was Sebastian Vettel finally coming through to win for Red Bull in his Red Bull debut this season. Vettel wins in Belgium for the first time this season. Charles Leclerc is going to be P2 there in the Ferrari. Max Verstappen, somehow with an incredible drive, is going to rebound to P3. Hamilton down in P7 after that last lap moment. We come through for P9. We beat our team at Portier in a late turn of events. However, Portier still in the points. His first point in Formula 1, P10. It's double points for Trackhouse Racing for the first time in our team's career. P9, P10. We will absolutely take that driver of the day, Max Verstappen. Let's head to the post-race celebrations on the podium.
So as they climb out of the car, the Red Bull team are ready and waiting to celebrate a thoroughly deserved win. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a drive with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
There you see the finishing results on your screen. Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen, Perez, Ocon, and then down through myself and Porsche there through 9th and 10th. Russell actually got disqualified because he couldn't make it up the hill into the pit lane when he blew his tire. So he would get a DSQ, which would put him dead last. It wouldn't matter anyways. He wasn't going to get points there. We can see Porsche finally with that first point moves him up to P20 in the driver's standings. Trackhouse currently P9 in the constructors, and we close in on Haas actually here as we cap off this episode, making some more upgrades, a durability upgrade, because our team is significantly worse than anybody in durability, but yet we've actually had basically no durability issues this season, which is odd. But in the next one, heading over to Zandvoort, so an exciting one, an exciting stretch with Zandvoort, Monza, Singapore, all coming up. Singapore, my favorite track in the world. Excited for that one. If you guys enjoyed, you know what to do, and we will see if Max Verstappen can get a home victory, or can Lewis Hamilton close that gap a little bit more as we continue to see that fight get a little bit closer between those two, except for today, obviously. That does it for me. I will see you guys in the next one from the Dutch Grand Prix. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, everybody.